Good morning, Professor. Good morning, class. My name is Nathaniel Anderson, and today for my final project, I will be teaching the overhand throw in softball using key motor learning principles. The overhand throw in softball is a fundamental skill that requires proper coordination, sequencing, and control to perform effectively. In this demonstration, I will focus on two main concepts. The first being freezing degrees of freedom, and the second being feedback. When beginners first learn a movement, they often simplify it by limiting joint motion. As the skill develops, these joints gradually release to create a more efficient and coordinated movement pattern. I will also apply different types of feedback, including knowledge of performance, knowledge of results, and proprioceptive feedback to help improve technique and overall performance. The goal of this session is to develop proper throwing mechanics, improve coordination, and enhance long-term motor learning through structured progression and feedback.
All right, class, before we get into the exercise, I'm going to have my daughter here, who's going to be my learner, go through a couple normal softball overhand throws before we move into our first exercise of freeze degrees of freedom. All right, for the second part, we're going to work on our freeze degrees of freedom. So when we have new softball players, we typically teach them the point step throw method. So first, we're going to go through the point. So she's going to have a locked out arm, shoulder width height, shoulder height, and then from here, we're going to go into the step. So she's going to take a shoulder width step and also bring her back arm into a 90-degree angle, the C cup, with the ball facing away from her. From here, we're going to go into the throw. So she's going to have a trunk rotation at the hips, shifting her weight from her back leg to her front leg, and then follow through here with a stiff arm.
So for this next part, we're going to work on knowledge of performance, which is going to focus on how the movement is supposed to be performed.
So for this, I'm going to have my learner or daughter lock step the point step throw method. So she's going to call it out as she goes through the motion, but she should be pointing at her target, stepping with her foot pointing directly at the target that she plans on throwing at. Also, while she's going to the step, she should have a C cup and a 90-degree angle arm with her arms perpendicular to the ground. And as she's going through this to the throw, she should be shifting all her weight that is on her back leg to her front side or glove side hand. And through there, she's going to follow through and throw here. Okay.
Point, step, throw.
So on that one, your arm still did not come at a 90-degree angle on the step. It should be simultaneous, okay?
Point, step, throw.
Once again, just make it fluid, point, same time, throw. And make sure you're getting the trunk rotation first before you throw.
Point, step, throw.
All right, for this next step, we're going to focus on the knowledge of results. So for this, we're going to work on the outcome of the movement.
So for this exercise, we're going to work on throwing to my glove, but we're also taking a look at our point step throw method and make sure it's executed properly. Make sure you're shifting all your weight onto that foot without going outward. So you're starting the sidearm, so it should go from here to here. One direct motion. Don't try to prevent from going outside, okay? Good. A little high. To my chest, okay? Good. That was a little soft. throw a little harder. Make sure you're really shifting all your weight to your front side or your glove side hand, okay? Nice. All right, so for this next phase, we're gonna work on proprioception. So this is when my learner is gonna call out her mistakes and adjust as we go on.
So upon recognition, she noticed that she did not make the C cup, nor did she make the 90-degree angle that she was supposed to make during the step phase.
You didn't put your arm up at a 90-degree angle? Okay. Did that feel weird for you?
Yes.
Once again, she's dipping her elbow below that shoulder line that we were talking about earlier. It is imperative that we get the ball up and at a 90-degree angle so that we can mitigate the sidearm throw, which can have adverse effects long term for softball players.
Okay. Yeah, you kind of threw first and then shifted your weight.
As we're going on, she's become more self-aware of her mistakes, which is good for proprioceptive feedback. As we go on, her repetitions vastly improve. On this one, she was commenting about how she didn't properly shift the weight from her back leg to her front leg during the step throw.
It won't come off as sidearm. Okay.
I tried to get her there.
Your elbow dipped again.
In conclusion, I applied motor learning principles to teach the overhand throw in softball. By using freezing degrees of freedom, I was able to simplify the movement early on and gradually build coordination as the learner improved. The use of feedback, including knowledge of performance, knowledge of results, and proprioception, helps refine technique and improve overall performance. In particular, proprioceptive feedback allowed the learner to develop a better awareness of how the movement should feel, which is critical for long-term skill development and self-correction. This progression allowed the learner to move from a controlled, segmented movement to a more fluid and efficient throwing pattern. Overall, this approach demonstrates how motor learning principles can not only be applied to the short term, but also long-term retention, adaptability, and independent skill execution. These concepts are essential for effectively teaching and developing fundamental skills across all sports.